part. All right, so we know that the DNA is, creating those tiny proteins, and then the proteins make up the living cells, and the cells make up the tissue, and then the tissue makes up the organs and the bones and, the human body. And we're going to talk about DNA, genes, and mutation. So our DNA, as you know, is a long spiral, chain that's made out of those 4, nucleotides. That's basically like the steps of the ladder. And the base pairs are called A, C, T, and G, which we're going to talk about more in a little bit. And then genes, which have a huge impact in health and aging. A gene is a long stretch of a protein that codes for something. And usually there are typically between 300 to like 1 million of those nucleotide pairs. As an example, like this part, would be considered a gene. And that little tiny part, codes for, a function in your body. It's almost like the product code, on all the products in the store. That little code, the barcode, has every information about the product. When it's running out, when it expires, when you have to order new ones, what's in there, everything. All right, next is right here. All right, now there's a close-up of our DNA. And you might ask yourself, what's up with those red balls that's sitting on the surface of our DNA? Now, these are called methyl groups. And those methyl groups are made out of 1 carbon atom attached with 3 hydrogen atoms. And some of them already come, in the womb, and some of them later on. And if you're lucky, they stay with you for the rest of your life. They control methylation. Remember the analogy we just used, which gene has to turn on and off, right? Or like which song has to play at the right time. These are the ones that regulate all that. And then you see here those green things. Those are the histone molecules where the DNA tightly wraps around. Sometimes they lose up and sometimes they tighten up. And they also help with gene silencing, which we will talk about in a little bit more. All right, so here you can see a chromosome. On the left, you can see it looks like the chromosome is trapped, the DNA is trapped in the chromosome, which is not really how it looks like, because the entire chromosome, if you unwrap it, is your DNA. And here you can see, the entire string, unwrapping it, the DNA with the histone molecules. And then if you have another close-up, the string itself, is your entire DNA. Now, keep in mind, those are microscopic. If I would stretch out one of your chromosomes, it would be about 6 feet long. To put that in perspective, I'm only 5'10", so it would be, longer than myself. And I'm going to blow your mind again. If I would stretch out every single DNA in your body, it would go about 8 to 10 times from Earth to the moon, back and forth. Now wrap your mind around that. That's how much DNA we have in our body. All right, so here you have a chromosome from your mom and one from your dad. And if you compare it from the left to the right, all the genes are in the right place. However, if you see that, if it's not connecting, that's considered a mutation or a variation. To have another close-up of your DNA, you can see now that A always binds with T and G always binds with C. However, what happens if A would try to bind with C? As you can see, there's no connection, right? And so what happens is that could be a variation or mutation. And so that could be unique to you, or that could be from generation to generation. It could be something simple as having a blue eye and a brown eye. But the gene mutation we're going to talk about, which is probably the most important one, that affects our health and aging, is the MTHFR, the methylene tetrahydrofolate gene. About 50% of the world's population have this gene mutation. Imagine, I take the crude oil out of the ground and I put that in the gas tank in the car. The car can do nothing with it, right? Because it needs to be converted, refined to gasoline. Well, in the human body, it's the same thing. All the raw materials in the body need to be converted. And that gene is responsible for converting our nutrients to its usable form, so the body can actually use it. And if you have the gene mutation, if you're lucky, you only have one from your mom or from your dad, which is either the 677T or the A1298C. And if you're unlucky, you have both genes broken, and then you need to really change your diet and do something about your methylation.